Mm.
I was thinking I like the, sometimes you say it's the bubble of illusion. And I guess, well, I was just thinking about the body being like a bubble, that it could break at any moment, I guess, and then you're left with nothing there.
The body is the key that enters the illusion, because you're formless. Like they talk about, you know, everything that you can label is not yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, all the things, all the thoughts, all the body, the world, anything that can be labeled is not yourself. And that's all illusion, because the Maharaj would say it very simply: prior to beingness, you didn't know anything about these things. After leaving the body, you don't know anything about these things. Only while in this body form do you see this body-based existence and believe that you're a body in a world. Again, the perfect example is dream. Because if you want to intellectualize in your dream, you can say, oh, I'm in this world, I'm here. And the you that is believing itself to be within the dream as an individual, when you wake up, then you know it's not true. You never were. Even though the appearance, it really appeared that you were someone, and there were some things, and there was a world. But when you wake up, you know it's not true. And now waking up is just to know yourself in a real sense. Oh, so all of this is not true. And as we mentioned, you just remain with yourself. Again, if you want duality, you can say that this sense of presence is God. This sense of presence, you worship this sense of presence. Okay. Because after some time, this worshiping of this sense of presence, it unravels. Because then you start to say, okay, at first in duality, I worship the sense of presence. Now I start to know myself as the sense of presence, because Master has pointed to this. So now immediately duality is just shocked, because if I'm this sense of presence, then where's the duality? There's not me worshiping presence, there's just presence. And now I can sit there and I say to myself, okay, so I am this sense of presence. As Nisargadatta Maharaj says, he remained with the I am. He just sat. And Sri Ramakant Maharaj says, be with you always, the selfless self. So I remain with the sense of presence. I identify as this presence that can be felt because I have a body. But now the deeper I remain, and see, now I've cut the world, because if I'm the sense of presence, then how am I worried about job and all this sort of stuff? Now I can just go about because I know all of the activities are occurring within my own self. So there's nothing to fear. Also, birth and death go out the window, because if I'm this sense of presence, how would this sense of presence be born or die? Unless through the concept of birth and death, and I say, I am born. Oh, okay. So then I forget myself, just like in a dream. I forget I'm dreaming, and I say, oh, I'm this person in this dream, until I wake up, and then I know that none of it was true. So if I remain with this sense of presence, this I am. Now, next, there's a direct experience of presence, and there will be a subtle knowingness. That the entire world has appeared in presence. Everything that's known is in that bubble of illusion, and that presence is in everything. And that's the sense I am, or I exist. Now, to whom did this I exist, I am appear? You. Once again, a dream. Laying down, sleeping, deep sleep, no knowingness, nothing to know, no sense of separation, no sense of duality, nothing is there. Then suddenly this something appears within the nothing, and there's a dream world that's projected. And you're in the dream, and you're doing things and moving various ways. And yet, it has happened only because there's a stirring of existence within the formlessness that creates this appearance of a dream world and a you that can see it. Then you wake up and you say, oh, everything in the dream was false. Well, now, understand yourself in a real sense. You know yourself as formlessness. And again, because of this sense I exist, an entire dream world, a waking dream world, the consciousness that created the dream world created this, quote, waking world, and you're a little person in it, or an object in it, so you see other objects. But now you wake up. Wake up is just to know yourself in a real sense. The conviction is, I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain body. Birth and death have to do with the body. Relation has to do with the body. Knowledge has to do with the body. World has to do with the body. Things have to do with the body. Personality has to do with the body. I am none of this. And it's the same as when you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, that was a nice dream. But this is a long dream, because there's a body form available. You're going to see an illusory existence, but now you don't have to identify as someone within it. You can know that all of this is occurring within your own self. There is no individuality, there is no personality, there is no body, because body is an object appearing within your presence, just as when you're sleeping, body is an object that appears within your presence. So the bubble of illusion is everything that can be known. And the one who knows this is not in the bubble of illusion. It's to whom the illusion has appeared. And only through misidentification, wrong identification, do we assume a position a local identification within the dream and say, now I know I'm the dreamer. But the local identification is an object within the dream or an object within the formlessness. There is no local identification because they're, again, this Maharaj says beautifully, invisible, anonymous, unidentified, identity. That's the identification. There's no local identification that can be labeled as something. And when there is, that's just a concept within the bubble of illusion. And that's why Maharaj says, break that circle of illusion, break that bubble. You can do it.
Would you say that the illusion, it doesn't exist at all, or exists
Correct.
in some way or something?
The illusion is an appearance that appears just like when you watch TV and there's an appearance on the screen of your television. There's dancing lights and a story and all this sort of stuff, but you don't even have to say it's illusion. You just say, oh, that's a nice TV show. And the same here. You are formless, and everything that can be seen. That's why Maharaj, again, he says, disregard the seen, stay with the seer. The seer is unmoving. Everything goes around. You don't move. You don't change. No changes can happen. Even if the entire world exploded and there was not a single being on earth anymore, it doesn't affect you. There's no change. If the entire universe was sucked into a black hole, it doesn't, you don't change. You're not gaining, you're not losing. Again, you can sort of look at space and conceptualize the space in the room. Does it lose if I take all my furniture and just throw it out? Okay, if you move out of this place, it's an empty space. And even if the building falls down, it's the same empty space. It doesn't know, oh no, I was confined to this apartment and now I don't have walls, so now I've expanded. No, it's the same space. This is why Maharaj says, whether it's the ashram or the toilet, the space is the same. If the walls fall down, does the space in the ashram go to heaven and the space in the toilet go to hell? No, it's the same space. When they use the analogy of the space within the jar and the space outside of the jar, that's this. Or when you say, I'm breathing in the air, now it's my air. I'm breathing out, now it's everybody else's air. No, it's air. Whether it's inside or outside, it's air. Air doesn't know, oh, now I'm inside John and I'm breathing and now I'm outside. No. And even you could say that the body is inside the air rather than the air inside the body. Because the body is an object in the air. The body is an object in the space. The body is an object within presence, within the consciousness, whatever you want to label it, within the dream. It's not you.
What about when I just start feeling like I really am myself, and I start feeling like really good, like that's all I really am aware of is myself. Sort of like it's still some kind of illusion or something.
Well, it's selfless self-intoxication.
Like closer to myself, but
It's selfless self-intoxication. As Maharaj says, as you get closer and closer and closer to your selfless self, basically you'll be training yourself to want yourself and not all these illusory things.
Yeah. But
You
that's
know, we
not,
just had Christmas with the lights and the tinsel and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot of things to draw the attention. But if you remain with your selfless self and you sort of train yourself to remain with yourself by not
yeah,
wanting anything other than that.
I mean, like when I'm feeling that, there's no question of illusion or not illusion or anything like that
Exactly.
until my mind starts recognizing, well, I had this experience.
Well,
Was it
and who
illusion?
had this experience?
Yeah.
The experience was your no experience, no experiencer at the truest level. You can always tell yourself this, even when you're involved in selfless self-intoxication and you're just like, just sitting. Bliss is profound. And yet there's no experience, no experiencer. The only reason you're experiencing is because this body form is available. When this body form is no longer available, you will not experience the sense of bliss because you are that bliss that you're sensing because there's a body form available.
So wouldn't it be better to have a body? So you can,
Well, in the dream, you know, you could dream that you're a Superman and you're flying, and you could say, oh, it's a bummer that I can't actually fly. I really enjoy flying in my dream. But it's not true.
and
So
then,
what a difference is it making?
yeah, I guess you're shooting holes through the bliss as soon as you start saying that the bliss is something.
Well, the bliss is the sense of presence felt through the body form because there's a body available. Just like you take a cup and you dip it into the nectar of immortality, but you have to have the instrument of a cup to be able to dip it. Otherwise, there's nectar of immortality, but no way to dip anything in. This body is the cup that you dip in, and then you just sip on that nectar of immortality, that selfless self-intoxication. Just I without anything. Just.
It's timeless.
Well, it's so outside of time because time came along with the body. In order to measure time, you have to have an object and you have to have space. And both of those are occurring within your own self. So there's no time, no space. Every attribute that you can attribute to something, you have no attributes. So if you sit there and you say any attribute, no experience, no experiencer, no attributes. All attributes are appearing within the presence, in the bubble of illusion, and I am not that. Formless without the concept of formlessness. Just as when you lay down at night, the dream world is projected, you absolutely know it came out of nothing. There's suddenly a dream world. It came out of nothing. Body is laying down sleeping. Formlessly, a dream world is projected. You know this. When you know yourself in a real sense, whether projections are there or not, you are.
So like if you're in reading Das Bode and it says it's to, I don't know, like be look at things a certain way. It's not so much that you're gonna be making things good because you're looking at a certain way, but it's gonna prevent you from being wrapped up in illusion.
Well, again, remember, Das Bode, the most beautiful thing about Das Bode is it begins the chapter with there is a doubt. And then the disciple whom they're speaking offers the doubt. And then every chapter ends with, now this doubt is removed. pay particular attention to the next chapter. So every doubt, every question is just a doubt about your formlessness. Remove the body and where's the doubts? Remove the body and where's the questions? How can you ask a question without a body? Formlessly ask a question about your formless self. You cannot, yeah. You have to take a position of some sort, identification of something in order to form a question or have a doubt. My doubt is I don't believe that I am this formlessness. I truly believe I'm this body, or maybe I'm formlessness within the body. And when I die, then where does this formlessness within the body go? Well, formlessness is formless, and the body is within the formlessness. So as this object deteriorates within the formlessness that you are, it will have no effect on you.
But you don't exist either, though.
Of course you exist. You cannot not exist.
Well,
You're just not an individual. See, whether 10,000 bodies die or 10 million bodies die, you are completely unaffected. Just as in a dream. Think about this. You lay down to sleep and you dream, maybe you're reading the news and you're worried about the war that might be coming and all this. And in your dream, there's a horrible war and 9/10 of the population is wiped out. Okay, that's a lot of people, but it's within the bubble of illusion. When you wake up, it wasn't true. And you, knowing yourself in a real sense, will know that even if this is occurring in the waking dream, it's not affecting you. It's not true. All form is seen or appears within the formlessness that you are. And this is not like a teaching or a preaching or even a spiritual thing. You can know yourself in a real sense directly. And as Maharaj says, that's the true spirituality. All the tapas and all the sadhana and all this sort of stuff, you don't need. It's direct. Direct understanding of your own selfless self, or the knowledge. That's why Nisargadatta Maharaj calls the presence the knowledge sometimes. He says the knowledge of your own self. This subtle sense of presence, this I am, this I exist, the knowledge.
sometimes I do sense, or it seems like I am the screen or I am the watcher, but then it doesn't last long.
Well, it lasts for all until you have a body form. Once your body form is no longer available, then that particular telescope will not be viewing the bubble of illusion because you'll no longer have a view to it as Keith.
I guess what I mean by doesn't last is my mind starts activating again, and I think
There's no mind.
about
See, there's
things.
a concept. What we just talked about, the doubt and the questions are about the formlessness. You're doubting your formlessness. To sit there and say, my mind, and Maharaj used to smack that very hard. He'd say, listen, you're giving too much power to this mind. You think this mind is like a boogeyman, that it has all the control, and that, oh, my mind, it's running away with me, and oh, my mind, it does this. There is no mind at all. You are formless.
So the mind is formless also then.
The mind, any thought that you're having is a appearance within the formlessness that you are. And then because of identification with the body, you say, oh, it's in here. It's not true. The world as you see it could be my mind.
I guess that brings it a little closer to home.
You are home. You've never left. Maharaj says you have arrived at your destination. No need to keep going on the train or the bus, going around and around and around. You're here. And now you just have to recognize this. How do you recognize this? Mantra, meditation. You know yourself in a real sense. And as you said, okay, mind comes in and blah, 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 the world. Okay, I remain with myself as self. As a matter of fact, we just talked about training your, quote, mind to want the sense of presence more than it wants the illusory objects that are occurring within it.
So in a sense, I can't really think of anything else other than myself because it's all.
You can't think about yourself. That's the beautiful thought-free state. Because when you know yourself in a real sense, what is there to think about of yourself being formless? If you start to think, then you're creating a form of a thinker. And there is no thinker other than the illusory thinker that you believe yourself thinking. And you believe yourself to think thoughts. This is not true either. Again, go back to space. Space in the room. This is a lump of goo. The space in the room possesses this lump of goo, looks around and sees all these things from the position of being a thing and forgets that I'm the space because I don't know I'm the space. I didn't know that I was space. That's why Maharaj says presence doesn't know I am presence. Water doesn't know I'm water. Earth doesn't know I'm earth. Space does not know I am space. Suddenly there's an awareness of a room and objects within the room. And I forget I'm the space only because this body, there's a slight twist of, oh, look, I exist. Well, but the space existed prior to the knowledge I exist, prior to taking this lump of goo and suddenly saying, I exist. The I exist is creating the duality, is creating the world of illusion, because I now know of my existence and I see so many things where I knew nothing and saw nothing. And now so many things are here and available. Easily lose myself because I'm a very small child and mom and dad say, oh, welcome to the world. And oh, aren't you cute? And they give you a name and then that name is what you take in and do all your things. And the sense of doership is attached to a name that's basically just a label for a body. And you forget you're the space until on your spiritual journey, the space that knows it's the space, speaking through the form of Sri Ramakant Maharaj, says, listen, you are just space. And he doesn't even say that. He says, you are not body, you were not body, you are not going to remain the body. So the body, if you take away the body, then you take away the world. How are you going to experience a world without a body? How are you going to know a world without a body? How are you going to know you exist without a body?
But I also don't know that I don't exist as a body unless I'm a body.
Well, and that's why you get to know yourself in a real sense. So that, you know, years from now, on your so-called deathbed, you're sitting there and you can just be like, just peacefully with yourself. Without fear of dying, without the concept of dying, because who dies? What dies? Where do you go after you die? You are everything. So, only if I try to limit with a local identification what happens to the presence or the air within John, when John passes away. But the air inside John and the air outside John, the presence inside John, the presence outside John, because John is within that, is just an object within your own self, which is formless. Just as the space that we talked about in the room, suddenly this body is no longer available, so the space no longer knows itself, no longer sees a room, no longer is experiencing a John. But has the space gained or lost anything at all?
I guess I keep equating existence with knowing something.
Yeah, but this is not true. Knowingness came along with the body and came along with the concept of duality through I exist. The first thing I know. As Nisargadatta Maharaj says, the first illusion is I exist. And the one to whom this I exist appeared, existed with no prior knowledge of their existence. And that is that you are.
Because we're sort of we're using the word exist for the same thing we would be using the word being.
No, the sense of existence. Just like you don't have to label it anything. You just, you know, you exist. You sit here with that you are, just you are, that I exist.
That could be called
selfless
being
self.
or amness or.
Okay, you can call it anything you want, because remember, all this came along with the body. So we can make up words to describe everything that is not, and it wouldn't really matter. Except then we would think, oh, that's kind of gibberish. Well, all this, everything came along with the body, and you are not body. So basically, yes, all knowledge is gibberish. You read the books which brought you here. You find the good news that I'm formless. Master says you're formless. Master says meditation, remain with yourself as self, know yourself in a real sense. That conviction, only one time. Oh, so that I am that.
Well, the knowledge is gibberish, but the knowing of yourself is beyond gibberish.
It's, well, it's also gibberish because it's not true. As soon as you know yourself, then there's a knower and a self. But you are the self that knows. There's no need for knowing. Again, birth is the concept I exist. Death is the concept existence is no more. But that to whom birth and death has appeared doesn't die. You can talk about the dream once again. There's a constant. That constant is the background on which dream, deep sleep, then the whole dream world, and then waking, all those appear to one that is not doing any of those things, because those are just states or attributes on the attribute list that you are. And then waking, and then life, and then death. Again, the background. All of those are just states that are appearing to you, but they're not you. Hammer this home. And when you start to say, my mind, I'm formless. What can the mind say about me? And remember too, mind, ego, intellect came along with the body that you are not. And the only thing that the mind can show you is what it learned through memory that it holds of the illusory world. No thought can be true.
As far as it's not telling you what.
Not telling, forget, not telling, who's telling? You got to cut all this relationship with the mind. As Maharaj says, mind is okay to use sparingly, like pickle. If you continuously put pickles on your sandwich, even if you really enjoy pickles, eventually there comes a saturation point where it's no longer a sandwich. It's just a pile of pickles. So you use very sparingly.
Well, if you're not using mind, though, there's still sensations going on or some kind of sense of presence.
But you don't have to, it just is. Why label? Why go after it? Why try to do anything?
True. I read in that one passage, Nisargadatta tells the guy to, he says, hold this question in your mind, give it all your attention. What is it that makes me conscious? And I guess that's very similar to the practice of saying, who am I? But,
Well, that to whom consciousness has appeared, the sense of existence. What is it that gave you this sense? This sense has appeared and will disappear. And anything that can appear and disappear cannot be your own self.
so what does it make that makes me conscious? Is it me that isn't anything, or is it the things reflecting and making it seem like I'm conscious?
Consciousness is this, quote, again, bubble of illusion. The sense I exist created a dualistic expression of things, otherness. That's appeared to you.